In the early years of women's history, scholars took great pride in identifying differences among women. We pointed out how class and racial and ethnic differences divided them. Women preferred to live in enclaves of women like them, to work with others of the same race, to pray at church with families of similar ethnic backgrounds. Those insights led us to stop talking about woman as though all women shared similar goals with regard to work, family life, and reproduction. We began to understand that even as vast numbers of black and white women or rich and poor women did not share the idea of separate spheres, the idea itself played a role in how the labor market took shape, not only differentiating women from men, but differentiating women from each other. Women in some jobs counted themselves respectable. Women in other jobs, service or menial jobs, struggled to maintain their dignity. More recently, scholars have turned away from simple explanations of identity to focus on uncovering a complex of overlapping or interacting social identities. Historians and sociologists talk about this as intersectionality, a notion best developed by the African-American sociologist Patricia Hill Collins. They note that each element or trait of a person is inextricably linked with other elements, and that the hierarchy with which these elements relate to each other might differ over time, even in the same person. At any one moment in time, and depending on the historical circumstance, it might matter more that one was rich or poor, educated or not, female or black, Jewish or Catholic, or any combination of these. Each of these identities provided a lens that could inspire a connection or an action. To imagine how this could be, just place one adjective in front of your identity. Imagine yourself a black woman, or an immigrant male, or a transgender college graduate. Now add another adjective and see how your identity shifts as you compile adjectives. What if you were a professional black woman? Would you have different political interests from the teenage mother black woman? What if you were an undocumented immigrant male? Would your interests coincide with those of the immigrant male architect or banker? Almost every historical figure we know has acted through different hats at one time or another. At the turn of the century, Irish trade union organizer Leonora O'Reilly joined with Jewish seamstress Pauline Newman and wealthy Protestant Alva Belmont to promote their common interest in making wage work more adaptable to family life. Each complained about the difficulty of getting along with the other, and yet each set aside cultural identity in the interests of a gendered struggle. Nor is self-identity necessarily consistent with the public view. Ida B. Wells, a well-educated African-American newspaper publisher, bought a first-class train ticket on a train in Tennessee in 1900. She imagined that her class position entitled her not to sit on a wooden bench in the unruly third-class compartment. But the conductor, who insisted that she move, thought of her merely as a black person and obliterated both her gender and her class identities. The late poet Audre Lorde explained her commitments to multiple political causes by identifying herself as a black lesbian poet, mother, and warrior woman whenever she spoke. Historians and others have used the concept of intersectionality to explain the seemingly contradictory actions of individuals over time. In moments of economic stress, depression, war, any one piece of identity or appearance might become salient. During wartime, Mothers who send their sons off to fight acquire the status of heroines and win gold stars. In peacetime, the same mothers might be excoriated for dependency, for being in need of support, for being a drain on resources. Gender, under these circumstances, takes on a different form. Materially, it may still have the same qualities, but the historian who can perceive and measure the salience of each quality at any point in time learns something about the motives that lead people to act. From the perspective of our modern world, a world where the rules are changing, where race intersects with gender identity and class intersects with both, it should be easy to empathize with the complex nature and influence of gender identities. Let's go back into the early 20th century and take that empathy with us. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of African Americans fighting a Jim Crow culture of segregation in the South and embedded racial prejudice everywhere else, of white and black educated women desperate to speak in an electorate from which they are excluded, of immigrants to America and migrants from rural to urban areas within America, where poverty took their children and stifled their lives. If we do this, we can more easily explain how women with different interests and identities could sometimes achieve coalitions.